Welcome, everyone. I'm happy to welcome you to the Red Room. This is Heather Carlisle, and tonight we're talking about purpose and mission. And I hope you downloaded your handouts or that you can see them to get you guided on the idea of what the distinction is between purpose and mission. And actually, it's Happy New Year, isn't it? We've spent six weeks looking at the building blocks, the 18 building blocks that build a healthy lifestyle. And so when I look at the big picture of those building blocks, what we want to do is make sure that it's all congruent with your sense of purpose and mission in life. And so tonight, I want to make sure that we're clear about the distinction between what is my purpose and what is my mission. And then maybe your goals for those building blocks will have changed, or they'll shift depending on what you decide your purpose statement and mission statement are. And I would love it if you would share it with us, if you would type it what you end up with your purpose statement and your mission statement are. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And as always, I invite you and I welcome you to type me any kind of a question about anything that's on your mind. It doesn't have to be on the topic that I'm teaching tonight or mentoring you with. So, purpose is to grow me. Mission is to serve the world. Purpose is that part of life that says, I'm looking at myself and my abilities, what I do, and sometimes I'm not good at it, or I fail at it, or I'm not sure how to do it, or I don't have the skill, or I've fallen flat on my face, or I'm sabotaging myself. Whole lot of things looking at me, my responsibility, and my ability. And so when I think about looking for a purpose statement for us, the first thing that I remind us of is our purpose is to grow ourselves, which means when we die, and that's kind of like the ultimate question, isn't it? When we die, what is it that we take with us? It's what we've gained in terms of our spiritual, psychological, mental growth during our lifetime here that makes us different when we leave from how we were when we started out. And I think about that in the simplest of terms, universal terms that most everybody agrees with me are, number one, I want to develop a greater ability to be a loving person. I want to develop a greater wisdom in myself, knowledge about me and the world and how to use myself better. And then, of course, on top of love and wisdom, we have the idea that we want to give it to the world and do something with it, which means I want to become a greater power for good in the world, that I wield who I am and what I can do to make something good happen. And that leads us into the segue of what is my mission. My mission is to serve. And that means that when I die, I look back over my life and I say, because I was there, I made a difference, or I contributed in some way, or there is something good in the world that I did, or that is a response to who I am or how I worked to contribute. And then, first of all, our mission in terms of serving the world, what basically we have to look at is, first of all, we want to take care of the children because they only grow in response to and thrive because we as adults take care of them, protect them, nurture them, teach them, and grow them. So first of all, if there's a child in my life under the age of 18 whom I am responsible for, that's got to be on my number one list of service. And then, of course, my day-to-day responsibilities. Yes, I want to pay my mortgage or my car payment. I also want to floss my teeth and make sure that I take care of the people in my life to say I love you in the ways that are marvelous, and that I then move out of my day-to-day responsibilities and express them in the world in terms of using my talents, my skills, my craft, my art, and make a difference somehow because of the things that I've grown in myself, to see how that kind of meshes. So I'm curious, those of you tuning in tonight, and thank you for doing that, if you have a question about that, have you thought of it in that way? Maybe you already have a purpose statement and a mission statement, or just one that includes both. I prefer that I individuate that. Yeah, and yes, I do grow because of my mission, because I'm always figuring out better ways to serve the world. And I also grow myself, not necessarily just for my job, but because I want to be a better person. Any questions about that so far? And I hope you got your handout. It looks like this. So I want you, before we tune out for this evening, to have something written in those 3 blocks. The first one, of course, is, what is my purpose? Second one, what is my mission? And the third one I put in there because pretty much all of life's tests and rewards and skills are built around relationships. And so sometimes we forget that relationships are equally important as a part of the things that inspire us and require us to grow with our purpose and our mission. And so we want to serve that consciously as well. Any questions, any comments tonight? So we're looking at the 18 building blocks for your lifestyle design. And of course, the ones that are on the left-hand side on your handout. Let me get mine down from my bookshelf here. The ones on the left-hand side are developing my abilities inside of me. And that's directly about my purpose. And this is the other handout for tonight. I hope you were able to download it and print it for yourself. And I really want you, maybe over the last 6 weeks, you have goals written in to this lifestyle design guide to make sure that you've thought about all the parts of yourself and your life and your works. That's my object. I want to make sure that we all have been taught or learned various things about what it is to have good standards and be a good person and do well in the world. And usually there are some that are overemphasized and others that we forget about. And that, depending on your family, how you were brought up, your schooling, your profession, maybe there's something there that you say, oh, I forgot, or I didn't know that that one was quite as important as it looks like it is. So I'm very interested in what your perception is, whether you think this is on track, whether you think there's something left out, whether you disagree with some of it. It's always stimulating to have your input, your ideas, your questions. So when we look at these 18 building blocks, the first 2 columns are around purpose. So of course, this is around me developing myself. And then the second one is purpose, me expressing myself. Because I can have all the knowledge in the world, but if I don't speak of it, what difference does it make? If I have, and we look at starting from the bottom up, if I have physical health, but then I'm not expressing it, maybe I don't use that health, that physical ability, by going swimming or running or having some kind of physical activity that I love. Notice the third column has to do with mission, which means giving it to the world? Do you use that ability, for example, if you're a marathoner, do you use that ability to raise funds in a marathon that's for a cause? Or do you teach kids? Or are you part of a group of friends that run together? How we take that, yes, I have it inside of me, but it really isn't manifest until I do it and then probably do it with other people or for other people. So my purpose statement, anybody have any questions about that? Any thoughts about that? Because it's going to come directly from the goals that you've set around your developing yourself internally and how you express it in the world. So for example, if my physical aspect isn't what I want it to be, and that's very foundational, and I know that sometimes when I say what I need to say, but I wouldn't say it to a friend. I say it as a mentor, as a speaker, as a counselor, that, you've gained weight, or you've lost weight, or you don't look healthy, or you're not sleeping, or you're starting to get some kind of a degenerative illness, or you've wounded yourself doing something, or maybe your sex life isn't adequate or happy, or your sense of self and your body image or your sexuality isn't natural, easy, true to you without any masks. Then I would want you to set a purpose statement of developing that. So, right on time, my purpose statement right now is that I am beginning next week a cleansing program. I haven't done one in a few years, and it's time for me to do that, especially, my age and the stressors of my life. I know that first off, I need to go through that program to be clean and very kind to my body for 21 days, and then look at losing some weight because of my time in life and how I haven't yet adapted to that, so that I'm maintaining how I want to physically hold my health. So if Heather is to write a purpose statement tonight, and really if it's down right at the bottom level, because we're starting from the bottom up, then it's crucially important, because that's going to affect every other one of the building blocks on top of it. So my next purpose is to grow my physical health by losing weight, and I'm going to say 15 pounds, by losing 15 pounds. And I could just leave it at that. I don't have to make any excuses or any definitions. So my next purpose, because our purpose can shift, once I achieve that one, I'm going to have another purpose that's personal to me, where I'm responsible for me and changing me, growing me, refining me. So that one nobody else can do for me, unless, I get into a treatment program and I'm non-compos mentis. But even then, I have a certain part of doing and being responsive. So does that make sense? Has anybody got a question about writing your purpose statement about what you want to grow next? Because I wrote mine just at the very bottom level there, because this is stating your purpose for self-improvement. Do you have one? I'm curious. Have you got one that you can write now that suits what you need to do next? So let's just say your physical health is just about right. Nobody's going to be perfect. We're just human, but it's good. Then we go to the next level up. Ooh, we've got a question. And this person says, can we have multiple purpose statements? Of course. And then, there's a distinction between my purpose statement and my goals. It may be that my goal is also to lose weight, but right now my purpose in life is to become fit. So, my goal, therefore, is to lose weight and do a cleansing program. And yes, if my purpose in life is to refine myself, I may have a system of goals underneath that purpose statement. Does that make sense? So then the next level is the belonging level. This is the orange one down here that's happy at home. So if I'm not happy at home and I'm not connected with my family and my cultural identity, then I need to change something about me in that. Or sometimes, I'll never forget working with a young woman, and her parents were immigrants, and they really didn't know well how to live in this culture. She assisted them a lot. And what she really needed to do was move out and have her own place, continue to assist her parents, but not as a young woman in grad school, still behaving like she did when she was 16 years old. So yes, she belonged to in her family wonderfully, but in terms of her goal to grow herself, she needed to then individuate. So if we were to say that as a goal and a purpose statement, the purpose statement would be, I want to be true to myself in my own home. And the goal would be, I need to save enough money for a condo or an apartment, and then I need to find a place to live and furnish it and move there. So that would be her purpose statement, and then the goal statements are the goals that she would set to achieve that purpose statement. Does that make sense, dears? Then the next level up, this one right here, has to do with identity and self-esteem and a sense of worthiness and a deservingness. And so the positive sense of self. Now, there are some of us, and I happen to be in that group of people, where I learned very young to doubt my worthiness. So when I'm pretty good now, but when I get under stress and something goes wrong and I think maybe I'm responsible for it, my first response in the stressful situation is going to not have a positive sense of self, but to doubt myself, my worthiness, my capacities. And so my purpose there would be to develop my sense of positive identity and worthiness and self-esteem. And then how I do that is using or knowing or teaching myself about the ways that I'm a competent, capable, and good person. And because I've lived for a long time, I've pretty much got that covered. I know myself, and I love the things that I've learned, and I love the ways that I've grown myself. So I do have a positive sense of self and identity. Then the next one has to do with your emotional intelligence. And that means that this is about how you handle yourself emotionally. And if you notice that you throw tantrums of any sort, that means that your emotional intelligence isn't strongly enough developed internally, which means not a sense of self-control, self-mastery, and knowing how to handle yourself no matter what kind of stressful situation or relationship you're in, so that you don't throw any one of the 5 tantrums. And of course, the first one is that you just take all the guilt and get depressed and just shut down and don't ask for help. The second one is when you just complain and whine but don't do anything. The third one is when you refuse to talk or interact or ask for anything, shut down and retreat and refuse to communicate and go away. The fourth one is when you blame other people and plan revenge and try to call them names or cut them down. And then the fifth one, of course, is anger and yelling and screaming and trying to use power and control over other people. So those are 5 tantrums that indicate to me undeveloped, low self-esteem, where we in certain ways try to have power and control because we feel disempowered and like a victim. And then you would want to set a goal, and your purpose being, I want to have a strong, positive sense of confidence in myself. And then, of course, the goals you would set would be the things that take you into those environments or those situations or those projects where you come up against your gifts and you experience yourself as successful and happy and competent and very capable and able to do things. Does that make sense? Is this hanging together for you, dear listeners, dear viewers? And thank you for tuning in. I love it that I have company. And the more interaction, the better. Then, of course, the next level up here is your sense of personal power, where that's partly your self-discipline, your willpower, your ability to decide how you're going to think, how you're going to speak, and how you're going to decide to behave or to do things. And that comes under your will, your standards, the things that are meaningful to you, all of those others that we just talked about, that you decide what you want to do next, not somebody else. And so then that purpose statement would have to do with, I want to be in charge of my own life. My purpose is to be in charge of my own life. And then your goals would have to do with the things where you feel, of course, you're not quite in charge. You know, maybe you're not yet handling your money very well. Maybe you've got negative people who take too much time gossiping with you. Maybe you're not in charge of your life because you're working in a place where you don't feel appreciated and you're not using your best talents. And so you need to use your will to move into something that suits you, that you like, that helps you grow your best rather than just getting a paycheck or pleasing somebody else. Does that make sense? Are these relating to you? And your multiple purpose statements, more like it would be, you would have a purpose statement for now, because if we have all these things that we're trying to work on, what we want to do is we want to focus down to what your purpose is today. That may change in a week or a year or 7 years. So my particular purpose right now is, my purpose in life is to become more physically fit. And then, as I said before, the goals are, first I'm going to do a cleansing. I'm going to stay away from all those things that we like, you know, caffeine, chocolate, alcohol, processed foods, fat, those kinds of things. So my goal is to avoid those and to follow this specific regimen. And then, of course, part of that goal is to lose 15 pounds, 10 pounds, however many you want to lose. Okay, how about multiple mission statements? Good question, because we want a mission in life, and that mission may have several components. So let me finish up the purpose part. So the last part up here is having to do with developing my character, my standards, and staying true to those, where I develop my ability to be virtuous. I develop my philosophy, where I know what I believe in, I know what I stand for, and I develop my sense of humor. So that sense of our character, our spirituality, our philosophical nature, our sense of doing the right thing and being an honorable person. And so, sometimes we find ourselves in a place, and I encountered someone like this recently, where there were people around them, staying within the letter of the law, but always pushing it, always trying to just get a little bit more, on the edge of what was legal. And this person felt uncomfortable with that and said, no, let's not try to get away with as much as we can get away with. I want to stay and do the things that make me feel excited about how good it is and how I can stay true to myself and what I think is right, what my standards are. So the purpose there would be, my purpose is to live to my highest level of integrity. And then the goals underneath that, sometimes it means I need to get a new job, or I need to spend less time with this family member, things like that. Any questions about that before we move to mission statement? Because now that we've talked about that, I'd like you to write a purpose statement, and I'd like you to share it with us if you're willing to do that. And of course, it is anonymous. So, what is your purpose now? It may be different from how it was last week, or how it may be in another 6 months. What is your purpose now? So, write something in that box, like I did. See that first box? My next purpose is to grow my physical health. And so would you write a purpose statement, or are you having difficulty with the phraseology? Let me know, ask me, because I know we've got some people listening this evening, and I would love to hear what's come to the top for you. So have we got somebody that's willing to share their purpose statement, or to say, I'm not sure, is this a good purpose statement? Is this one going to serve me? Is this one phrased the way it's going to be a real purpose statement? So somebody, if you would chime in, I would love that. I think you're being shy. Anyway, let's move on to now our mission statement, which is our mission statement is using our talents, making a difference in the world, so that we have it developed in ourselves now, and now we want to do something with it that makes a difference. And there's a real sense of satisfaction about serving humanity in some way, whether it's your children, people on the job, your volunteer work, your neighborhood. So let's look at that. So we start at the bottom. The first one, this third column here, is your mission and how you take these abilities and serve the world with them. The first one is your physical self, your activities in the community. And so are you maybe an athlete? And would your goal be to coach Little League? Or, as I said earlier, be on a walkathon or a marathon or something? Or would it be your community, meaning your friendships, where you play tennis on a tennis club, or you go golfing with your friends? Some way of being physically active that adds to your life and does something with other people or a cause in the world. Then the next one is your social community, that belonging part. Do you have a social community where you express yourself? And that could be like a bridge club, or friends that you have a getaway weekend. There are people who do that once a year or twice a year. They get away with their friends, or they have a family reunion where we gather together in community to be in friendship, in relationship, and we're giving ourselves our time, our attention in that way. If we're to look at the original model, I've got examples there on these things. And so my object tonight is to ask you to think about those and to decide what you're going to put in those blocks. So if we look at this one, and most of you should have that one, teamwork, how you're going to participate in teamwork, how you're going to be as a parent. And you know, so many times in my private practice, or I'm mentoring someone, I can't help but say, have you ever taken a parenting class? And sometimes the response I get is like, how dare you tell me how to parent my children? They're my children. And yet, we have materials and people today who have spent their entire lives figuring it out, and it's clear, elegant, fun, and specific how to be a better parent. And it's a little sad to me when I see people wanting to be great parents, but they just don't have the knowledge or the information. And at that point, I will want you to set as your mission statement, my next mission is to learn to be better with children, or to contribute more with my kids as a parent, or to work with kids in my local school. That's one of the great things about bonding and interacting with people. Do you mentor your juniors, or do you take care of your elders? Do you just have fun entertaining? That's one of the things Jack and I love to do. We create a great community of friendship because we have people over and we entertain, and don't just stand around doing something casual. We usually have something planned or focused to make sure that we're interacting at a high quality level and having fun with it. Passing on the culture, passing on your traditions. Jack and I help in the community, in the chamber music community, which takes many of our talents, and that also has given us back some friendships that we will treasure for life. And that's a way to belong, where you go into the community and offer your abilities, and this is your ability in friendship and interaction and being around people, and then what you also aren't looking for, but what you do get back, is the experience of wonderful people and possibly various kinds of friendships. Any questions? Any thoughts? Have you got puzzles? Or how are you doing with this, dear ones that have tuned in tonight? And thank you for being there. So the next part of us wanting to look at mission is this one that has to do with a sense of positive identity, positive sense of self-worth. And this is, as a mission, I want to be a confident role model in the world, so that I'm giving that to people, that they see me and I work with people. My mission may be teaching others. My mission may be going into leadership and taking the person that I am into that place and using my talents and abilities for the world, whatever it is that I've learned to do, whether it's helping on a bike trail by organizing and going with people, doing a bicycle ride, or it's recognizing the people that I've been working with, or it's consulting with people to share my talents with them, maybe supervising or advising others. Some way my mission is to give certain ones of my talents to the world. Is this making sense? Is this helpful, everyone? Then the block number 12, which is my need to learn relationships and be in relationships with emotional intelligence. So my mission there, if I decided that my next mission in terms of giving something into the world is to develop better emotional intelligence and better interactions with people, so that may be as a friend, it may be acts of service and kindness to the people in my family or my community or at work. It may be that I'm able to have dialogue with others, to be emotionally sensitive to others. Sometimes some of us are developed intellectually and in a sense for productivity, creating things, and we're out of touch with the heart. And so that person who is out of touch with the heart probably doesn't have as much empathy or sensitivity emotionally to the people in their lives. And frankly, a lot of people don't see the value in that because they see that being productive is more useful. And that may be true for them for a large part of their life. However, if the people close to them or people they're married to are feeling unloved and like they're not appreciated and not bonded, then there's a choice there. The person who is emotionally shut down or doesn't value an emotional bond, I would say they need to make it as a mission statement to connect emotionally, or to let the person go to find someone who can actually love them. And then block number 15, this is up here, the blue one that's about your personal power in the world. Like your mission is your career, your job, your art, your profession, and that this is how you serve the world. So obviously, my mission has always been in my adult life, and I am doing it right now, mentoring and, as best I can, walking my talk. So my mission is to embody and teach empowerment to people. And that's been my mission for, probably 20 years. And it continues to be my mission. And my purpose is changing because I'm always wanting to embody more things to teach empowerment to others. And to do it faster, more elegantly, and with more fun. So am I teaching well tonight, you guys? Is this coming through? Is it meaningful to you? And then, of course, the last part of our development up here, block number 18, the last one, my mission to serve the world, having to do with my character and integrity. Sometimes that means it's in an actual spiritual sense, where it may be in a religious place. It may be community service, and I'm so appreciative of the United Way. The United Way is like a clearinghouse where they have connections with dozens of nonprofits in our city or our community. And if you want to find a place to serve the world or to serve your neighborhood or to serve your city, if you contact the United Way in any way, they will give you a whole menu of possibilities so that you can choose something that suits your purpose, your talents, whatever it is you're growing in yourself. Contributing our time, sometimes our talent, sometimes our money. Oftentimes it's a nonprofit organization that needs volunteer help. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's our own task or project, or sometimes we set up a fund or a grant for somebody, some kind of involvement with the things that have deep meaning to you. It may be the environment, nature, animals, something that you think has to do with your standards, the sense of honor and integrity about being here as a good person. So we've looked quickly, briefly, at all 18 building blocks. Now, would you like any other guidance on writing a mission statement in terms of what your mission is to serve the world? Sometimes a mission statement is, my mission is to teach children through becoming accredited as a high school teacher. My mission is to be a stockbroker so that I help the economy or the community or my family. Does that make sense? Oh, good. I've got a question. I am enjoying this tonight, Heather, but could you answer an off-topic question? Of course, dear, always. Or do I have to stick to your main topic tonight? No. If you tuned in the very beginning, I always invite you, ask a question. It doesn't have to be on topic. I'm always going to have a topic so that your time is well spent if you tune in. And I'm always interested in your questions or concerns. It doesn't have to relate at all because you can depend on me. I'm going to teach what I want to teach, and I'm also going to answer your questions. So tell me, what's your off-topic question? And actually pretty much this particular topic of purpose and mission, it's going to apply in some way no matter what your question is. I can show you how it does. My boss at work is bothering me. Tell us how. Tell us what's happening, please. And thank you for asking the question. He or she is typing. So, a boss at work is bothering you. That can be complex and sticky in lots of different ways. And it depends on the company where you're working, what options you have, and how you want to go about ameliorating that. I am a good worker, but I feel like he is picking on me specifically. That may be true. It's so unfair. Of course it is. And there may be many reasons why he's picking on you. I want to tell him off. Yeah. If it's unfair and it's frustrating and it's not right, it will make you feel angry, and this is where emotional intelligence comes into play. How often does telling somebody off have a constructive outcome? But my job would be at risk, of course. What should I do? Well, tell me what you think. I mean, you're in this relationship with this boss. What do you think is bothering him? What is it that he wants from you? Or what do you think is the reason that he picks on you more than anybody else? And I'm wondering how many people there are in the office and how exposed you are to this. So I don't know what you should do. It depends on so many things, doesn't it? It may have nothing to do with the office or the job. And, sometimes somebody's actually attracted to you and they don't know how to handle their attraction, and so they turn it around and make it negative. Should I confront him? I don't. Does confrontation work? I don't know about you, but somebody confronts me. Inside I go, well, it's like, do you want something to happen, or do you just want to make me feel bad? And tell him that he's being unfair? Well, probably not. That approach is not going to get you anything. I mean, what is it that you want? What should I do? You're going to, instead of being emotional, which is what this is that you've been describing, confronting is emotional. Telling him that he's being unfair is just a judgment and a criticism. So telling him off, that's in essence putting him down and calling him names. So those are things that people with low emotional intelligence would do. So if we want to solve the problem, first of all, you want to know why you're being treated unfairly. So first of all, I'm going to type you something. Okay. And you may know this, some of you may know this, cushion statements or sandwich no. Sandwich no's. So usually when we need to communicate something difficult, we want to get a result that's positive rather than just getting in a fight or getting somebody to feel criticized or judged or to making them feel defensive. We want a positive outcome. That means that we need to have a dialogue about what's going on and how to solve the problem. So the focus is, and I'm talking for you here, I want to solve the problem. And now I'm not sure if you know even what the problem is. And the unfairness, can you quantify that? Can you articulate that? So it may be, for example, one of your coworkers comes in 10 minutes late or 15 minutes late. You come in 5 minutes late, but instead of talking to both of you about that, he just gets on you about it and doesn't say anything to the other person who is even later than you were. Now that's a specific piece that you can use to talk about. So if you can give me a specific instance, then we can treat that, because what we want to do is solve the problem. And until we can describe intellectually and intelligently what the problem is, we can't look for a solution. If it's just emotional stuff, then we're going to have to look at what the personalities are. And I'm wondering if you have a human resources department or if you have a job description that tells you what to do when you're having a problem on the job. He is more critical of my work than anybody else in the department. So, does that mean he criticizes you, or he puts you down, or he insults you? Or does that mean he gives you a bad review? Or does that mean that he's verbally more negative with you than he is with other people? Or is he verbally more criticizing and judgmental of the work that you do? Let's see. He's been on me since the beginning, and it's getting worse. Yes, he criticizes my work. So what kind of criticism does he have? Does he say, you're too slow, you're too messy, you're not researching properly, you don't get it done on time? What's the kind of overview of the thing that he criticizes? And I'm wondering if that's because the two of you have two different styles, or if you have a style that's different from the other employees in the office. What is it that he criticizes? Can you be specific about that? Because what you're asking here is it's a very important question, and it can be quite complex. And so we want to narrow down, okay, what approach is going to help you solve the problem, because all of these other things are going to have nothing to do with it. He just makes general negative comments. Words like bad, ooh, not a good boss, is he? Everybody listening, this guy probably doesn't know how to be a leader. Bad, not good. Okay, so this gives me a little bit of a thing to pull on, dear. If he says it's bad and not good, those are too generic. Then the first thing is you want to cushion it with something positive. The first thing you say is, I really want to do a good job and get your approval. Whatever approval or good vote or encouragement, whatever it is you want to say. So first, you always tell the truth and you always say the positive thing. So obviously, you want to get his approval. You don't want to say, I've had enough of your criticism. You say the positive. I really want to get your approval. I really want to do a good job. And then you can say, sometimes I feel, or probably it's not better to say feel, sometimes I think that my work can't reach your standards. And that's the negative. And notice that you're not pointing the finger at him and saying, you're always judging me and criticizing me and making me feel bad and you're a bad leader. No, you're saying, you're putting it back on yourself. Notice, don't point the finger at him. Don't talk about you. Put it back on yourself. You're saying, sometimes I think, I get the idea that I can never reach your standards. And then another cushion statement. And it would help me a lot if I knew more about how to get it right for you. Because what you've done is just given me a kind of a generic statement where it's bad or not good. And so what we want to know is, what is it that would get him to say it's good, or this is right, or this is correct? And, if it's just that he's got some kind of a discomfort, an emotional discomfort with you, then this is laying it out and saying, in essence, I want to solve the problem, tell me what to do. And if he's just, irritable with you because you remind him of somebody he doesn't like, or if he just doesn't like you, that has nothing to do with the job. And what you've done with saying statements like this is getting it back out of the personality stuff and the emotional stuff, right down to, let's get the job done, and I want to get the job done, and I want to get your approval. So do you see how this is, you don't point the finger, you don't confront? I mean, anybody. Does that work? Does it work with you? Has it ever worked with you? It just makes you feel bad. And then you want to be defensive because you want to plead your own case. Confrontation is not a choice in my mind, unless you've got somebody abusing a child or something and you don't have proper parameters to do something and you've got to do something right away. But most of the time, 90% of the time, we don't want to confront because it really doesn't work. It really doesn't go towards a dialogue or a solution. And of course, what your boss is doing is not working. And he's obviously not someone trained in leadership or management in a professional way. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel treated that way. You'd know what was wrong and you would be informed as to what you need to do in order to get the approval. So since this person doesn't have good management skills or leadership, then you walk in and you ask for what you need. It should be given to you if you're working in a company with great leadership, but that's not the case for a whole lot of people. So then you need to ask specifically for what you need in order to get his approval. Does that make sense? Is this helpful, dear? Give me a little feedback. Tell me if I need to be more specific. And of course, you know that here online and just this doing something in the red room isn't as fast or as elegant as I could do if you and I were together and I were mentoring you that way, or we were on the phone together. And I love it that you've asked this question and engaged with in this dialogue with me here, because everyone gets to get the advantage of that. So tell me, am I on track? Does this relate? Can this relate? Could this be helpful to you? Let's see. She is saying, thanks, Heather. You're so welcome. So I'm trusting. Is this setting you on a path of being more positive, and bottom line, moving into getting the problem solved? I think this will help me. Excellent. Now, if you want to email me, I would love that. You can put your email there if you want to, but that would be, sharing it with the other people online. Help me find a good way to make some changes with my boss. Oh, fabulous, dear. Excellent. Well, that was easy. But if you give me or email me, I will send you my handout on cushion statements, which is 3 or 4 pages on specific examples with more cushion statements than I just gave you, where it'll be like 3 or 4 sentences that cushion on the beginning and the after of the solution that you're looking for with the problem that you're describing. So let's see. Cushion statements and sandwich no's. That's just a sandwich no is usually the way it's taught in the business world, and cushion statements is the generic. And I teach that a lot with communication skills, with couples, and here it's really critical when you need to be professional. And when you do this, it's quite disarming for people, because oftentimes they've never been spoken to with this much intelligence and thoughtfulness. And it's kind of like takes them aback, and they start really thinking about it. Because in essence, you've confronted. But the confrontation is not emotional or negative. It's just telling the honest truth in an intelligent and kind way. And that's what a real gentleman does. That's what a real lady does. We say the truth, but always with courtesy, if not kindness. Thank you so much for asking that question. That was fun. It's always fun, of course, for me to be able to be helpful, because of my mission in life is to empower people. And so you asking me my question allowed me to live a little piece of my mission, which is empowering you to have a better experience on the job with your boss. So is that a good example of a mission statement? And see, for me, empowering people, I need to learn how to, need to have the knowledge of good communication, and then how to communicate it quickly. And so that's why I had this irresistible urge to create pictures and models like the ones that I shared with you tonight, so that we empower you quickly. So the last thing on the page today, so if I would say my next mission is to serve, how it is to serve, well, I'm very clear on that one. My next mission is to serve my colleagues, and I'm writing this down, I hope you're writing something down, my colleagues with CEUs online. And I have one already recorded, it just needs to be edited, where I can put it up on my website and my colleagues can dial in and get continuing education. And then the last one is my next relationship skill is. So, and thank you for asking that question. I told you I would fit it in to what we're talking about tonight. It would fit in because we're talking about the entire life design. Your next relationship skill, dear, and thank you for helping me tonight, is to learn to use cushion statements to figure out, to to create a better relationship with your boss. And then your goal is, of course, to solve the problem with your new skill of in relationships of being able to communicate with cushion statements. Is that cool? Do you see how that fits? Perfectly. So everyone else listening, I don't know if you've got yourself, I hope you've got yourself a purpose statement and a mission statement. So my next relationship skill is, well, let's see. You know, my next relationship skill really is my ability to kind of like do cold calls, but to make telephone calls to people and talk with them about doing more talks, because I want to do more presentations. I want to teach more. I want to help more people than just in my private practice. So my next relationship skill is better, developing better, ability on making more phone calls. And then, of course, the goal that goes under that is more phone calls to get talks or to do corporate seminars and such like that. So on my sheet, I've got my purpose, mission, and relationship skill next. Have you got yours, or do you have a question about that? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. And we are coming to the end of our time today. So if you have a specific request on what you would like me to present on the next Red Room, I would love to hear from you. A phone call, an email, a comment on my website. And if you visited my new website, you'll find that you can make a comment, like on a blog, on every one of the pages. And I am most appreciative when I get a comment from somebody visiting my website. So if you have something you'd like to request for yourself or a friend, I'm always interested in hearing from you. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and thank you to the person who asked for help with that boss that treats you unfairly. Do you see how well it fitted in? It fit in. So thank you, and good night from the Red Room, and I will see you next week, same place, same time. Good night, everyone. Take care.